Thorndike's influence on education today. We know Thorndike worked in the early 1900s, but today we are in the early 2000s. Are his works applicable today? And the answer is yes, they are. Thorndike and other followers believed that rote memorization does not necessarily strengthen connections. If we only expect students to be learning things by heart and regurgitating or reproducing material for us on tests, quizzes, assignments, exams, then connections are not going to happen. Because rote learning is boring. How much time do you really want a young person to spend learning and learning and learning, committing everything to memory, and then giving it back to you when you want it? Rote learning, learning by heart, will not help make strong connections with what the student knows or how what he is going to learn today will benefit him in the future. There has to be some sort of meaning associated with it in order to be transferred to other situations. When we learn something, it is important to understand the meaning because that helps build strong connections. When we learn by heart, we are not interested in meaning. We don't care what it means. As long as I have learned it by heart, I will be able to write it all out on my exam. I'll pass. Yes, you'll pass. But have you learned? Are you educated? Have you received what you came to the school or the education center for? And the answer really is no, you have not. If the only thing you've done is rote learned. So if we want students to have strong connections with what they are learning, we will have to make sure that they understand what they are learning. Simply knowing is not good enough at all. Today, especially today, simply knowing helps no one. Knowing and understanding puts you on the step to a better life. But you have to go beyond the understanding stage also at some point. But at least if you understand what you have learned, you will make the association, you will make the connection with what you already know and what you need to know. And it is important at times for teachers to ask students, what do you know about this topic that we are going to do? And then change the question slightly. What would you like to know about this topic that we are going to do? So the first question was connected to the past. What do you know? Good, bad, right, wrong, relevant, irrelevant, what do you know? The second question was future. What do you want to know? What more do you want to know about this topic that will help you understand something better? Now, looking at these two extremes, what they know from the past, what they want to know in the future, and bringing it into the present, what am I going to teach today? Will my teaching today help connect with what they already know to what they want to know? If that happens, you are a successful, effective teacher. Looking at the past and the future and connecting both to the present with what you as the teacher want to do in the class today will help students make stronger connections with their learning and learn things better. Thorndike broke the traditional thinking about hierarchy of subject matter. In the past, in the early 1900s, in the good old days, as we would say, people were still looking at the great works and mathematics and science and religion as the key things that should be taught. Thorndike, over his work with animals and eventually with human adults, said one subject was no more important to meaningful learning than another. You couldn't say that if you did English, you will learn more versus if you did geography. You can't say history is of no value. All subjects are of equal value and all subjects help you learn. The more subjects, in fact, that you study at a time, the better your connections will become. Until then, math and science were seen as more important to teaching structure. In Thorndike's time, math and science, and even for a lot of us even today, becoming a doctor or becoming an engineer is the key thing that parents want, is the key thing that young people want. That must change. We will be saturated with doctors and engineers if we don't bring in other areas where our students can excel. So great influence of Thorndike's work, influence even today on education and what happens in our schools and our classrooms.